Alright, what is going on, my dudes? We're back here today with the next champion entering MCOC. We have Count Nefaria. Now, this guy is so freaking cool, dude. He kind of looks like Doctor Strange, but he doesn't have much in common with him. Now, before we get into anything today, I think I have something for you guys that you might like just a little bit. If you go on over to the MCOC web store and you put in this promo code Nefarious, you will find yourself with 3 Count Nefaria Valiant Crystals as of the time this video is being uploaded, if I get it uploaded on time, or at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, September 5th. That is 3 Valiant Count Nefaria crystals. If you are a free-to-play player, this is exceptional value. If you're not, it's still pretty darn good value, man. It's 3 free Valiant crystals for the newest champion. You're welcome. Go check it out, man. Check out the web store. Get that promo code. Get those Nefaria crystals. Open them up while you're watching this video. Let's jump into it today. So, this guy is an absolute beast, man. He's so much fun to play. The evade mechanic that he has is a ton of fun. He has a lot going on in this kit. We're going to jump into all of it today. The SIG ability is not going to make much sense unless we go over the rest of it first, so we'll get into that, but he does like the SIG, I will say that. So, always active, his body is composed of ionic energy, granting immunity to power steal and all bleed effects, plus 90% shock and incinerate resistance. He has some more resistances as well. We'll get to those in a bit. Now, energy buildup. Whenever the opponent fills a bar of power, they gain 15 stored energy, okay? Now, every 10 stored energy is automatically converted into indefinite energy buildup debuff. This is kind of like what Havoc places on the opponent. Just think of it that way, okay? So when they cross a bar of power, essentially they're going to gain 2 of those debuffs. Also, for every 1% of the opponent's max health or power they would gain from a buff or passive, this does include like Mystic Dispersion, they gain 2 stored energy, all right? This is unaffected by reduced regen or ability power rates because he counters both of those, so that's why it says for every amount they would gain, okay? Well-timed blocks, he evades, kind of like Elsa Bloodstone. It's very similar to hers. So when Count Nefaria would block a basic attack or the final hit of a special attack with a well-timed block, he has a 100% chance to evade instead. This has a cooldown of 11 seconds, but if you are evading the end of special attacks, that cooldown does not exist, okay? Now, when you do evade, you do a little burst of energy damage and you inflict 2 energy buildup debuffs. But if the opponent's special attack is punished after you evade it, you inflict an energy vulnerability debuff for 18 seconds, and this is a pretty darn decent one, 25, 50, and those can stack, right? So, Ionic Charges. He gains 10 of those when performing a well-timed block, not when evading, when actually blocking. He loses 20 when he would be inflicted with a bleed effect while fighting a non-mystic champion, so you don't want to fight bleeders with this guy. Don't fight like Morningstar. Wait, she's mystic. I don't know, man. Don't get hit by attacks that bleed you. Just don't do it. Don't use them on caltrops, I guess. All right. I guess you can. He's immune. Yeah. All right. Ionic Charges grant up to 4485 attack rating, maxing out at 100 charges, right? So you get them pretty darn fast, and if you play this guy properly, they're always stacking up, all right? They're always stacking up, and you always have a nice supply. They also grant up to 5,950 physical and energy resistance and 90% degen resistance, maxing out at 100 charges. So at just 100 charges, you have bleed immunity, you have shock and incinerate resistance at 90% on top of almost 6,000 physical and energy resistance and 90% degen resistance. That's a lot of stuff, man. You max that, you combine that with inequity. This guy is unbelievably tanky. Unbelievably tanky, not even to mention that he has some regeneration in his kit as well. So, once you reach those 100 charges, you enter Ionic Overcharge, okay? And at 100 charges, you activate that for 17 seconds, and it's paused during his special attacks, and you lose 100 when it expires. Now, just because at 100 you enter Ionic Overcharge does not mean you can only gain 100. You can gain like 500, and then after 17 seconds, right, you're gonna lose 100, but guess what? You're at 400 then, you're still in Ionic Overcharge, all right? So this guy can stay topped up very easily. During Ionic Overcharge, all of his attacks are non-contact and deal energy damage instead of physical. That's kind of nuts. That's kind of nuts. Everything is non-contact and everything is energy, man. So like stuff like Korg, Atuma, right? Things where you don't want to make contact with the opponent. Not bad. Additionally, this is the big one. The opponent's regen and ability power rates are reduced by 95%. That's a lot, guys. And when they gain ability power, he gains 60% of the power denied in this way, allowing you to spam those special attacks, all right? Also, speaking of specials, the first hit of any special attack deals a burst of damage if it is the first or second hit after his counter attack. Okay? Now, special 1. The final 4 hits each devour 2 of the Havoc type debuffs, and this can trigger through block and is unaffected by ability accuracy reduction. Each devoured energy buildup grants 16 ionic charges and 2% of his missing health and 9% of a bar of power. Alright? So he gains power, he gains regen, and he gains ionic charges from a special 1 when devouring the energy buildup debuffs on the opponent. You use that to shoot up in power, enter ionic overcharge, so you can use the special 2 and gain a fury passive for each ionic charge up to 150. 10 per, so 15 fury charges, right? That gives you a nice juicy stack of furies, all right? The final hit inflicts an incinerate debuff or a plasma debuff against mystics, dealing a nice bit of energy damage over 6 seconds, and of course, if you evade the specials and punish, that energy vulnerability is going to play very nicely with this energy damage, okay? Not to mention, guys, everything becomes energy damage when he's in ionic overcharge, right? That's why the energy vulnerability is so important. You combine that with the big furies, you're going to be seeing some big yellow numbers, man. All right, special 3. You gain 50 ionic charges, then you activate overcharge and you pause it for 10 seconds. I don't use the special 3 too much, but it definitely has a place. It's nice. You can keep everything paused and just activate that stuff naturally. If you get shot to special 3, not the biggest deal. All right, let's look at the sig ability here. During ionic overcharge, he passively regenerates 80% of the health denied to the opponent due to any reduced regen rate. All right, that's kind of like Scorpion in a way, his special 2. When the opponent gains 20% of a bar of power from a passive or buff within 0.5 seconds, instantly gain 50 ionic charges. This activates ionic overcharge, all right? So this is fan-frickin-tastic. You do, I believe, need to be at max sig for the max benefit here, but this, like if you're in Battlegrounds against a Mystic, you dex once, then you get rid of that dexterity buff, you trigger Mystic Dispersion, ionic overcharge, like that. That's all it takes. This also triggers when they gain 8% of their max health for any reason within 0.5 seconds. I'm not entirely sure like what that's going to be like realistically used for. That's a lot of health in 0.5 seconds, but I'm sure there's going to be times where that comes up. All right, so obviously this guy has so much in his kit. All right, we're going to start with the vanilla matchup today. We have this Star-Lord with about 700,000 health. We don't have class advantage here. This is a big health pool, all right? So the rotation is going to be very similar in the longer fights and shorter fights. So we're just going to go for the 700k here right off the bat. So as you can see, we evaded to put the 2 debuffs on him. We're parrying to gain our ionic charges. He's going to throw the special 1. We are going to evade it and counter for the energy vulnerability. Oop, we messed that one up, but that's okay. All right, so now we're going to go for the special 1, devour those debuffs, and we entered ionic overcharge. At this point, everything we do is energy. We have that attack bonus. We have 2 energy vulnerabilities, and we go for a special 2. Watch this. Bam! 78k special 2 crit. We have only 14 furies. We have 2 energy vulnerabilities on, okay? And that's ticking for about, give or take, around like 7k per second, right? So we're now down like 400,000 health on this guy in under 60 seconds, right? Now obviously for the champions where you can like very easily punish their specials after the evade, you're gonna have a better time with this guy. That is very, very obvious, right? But keep in mind, right, not every defender is going to be able to do that. If you have like lots and lots and lots of very long projectiles at the end, right, you're going to have to probably adjust your playstyle a little bit. But even here with like the gun special 2, totally fine to parry and punish those things after the evade. Now, one huge elephant in the room is that in PvP game modes, there is a mastery called Unfazed, and we all love it so much. Does Count Nefaria get messed up by Unfazed? Absolutely, all evaders do, man. So Unfazed is a very unfun mastery, in my honest opinion. And yeah, dude, so kind of like Mr. Negative when, like, you know, he evades, and then the opponent goes unstoppable. The same thing can happen here. You do have to keep that in mind for, like, Battlegrounds and Alliance War specifically. But in questing content, man, he rips through things with no problem at all. If the opponent isn't running in phase, he's gonna rip through things with no problem at all, but it is just something that you do have to keep in mind. Now, I wanna look at that SIG ability interaction here against America Chavez, all right? So we're going to Dex, bam, watch this. Boom, 50 ionic charges. Watch this. We're going to bait out a heavy attack so we can see her power, all right? Now she's going to throw a special 1. Look at that. No passive power. In fact, we gained passive power, all right, against America Chavez there. So that is definitely not too bad. Same thing works for Mango Eggnog here and any passive power gainer, right? Watch this. Bam. And he's kind of done. He's just not gaining anything. We're gaining it instead. Minus 95%, and we gain 60% of what we're stopping. That's really darn solid, dude. That is like really darn solid when it comes to countering passive power and countering regeneration. It happens really easily, man. So let's take a look at some of that regen here against this Absorbing Man. And not only that, I actually mess up the dex at the end, and I want you to see how much damage we take when we mess it up. Okay, so bam, we are in Ionic Overcharge. We have our plus 6,000 physical resistance, right? Look at that. Look at the damage that did we even take damage, dude? Watch this. 611? 611. From Ascended Rank 5 Absorbing Man, Refined, and Uru. When you take into account the physical resistance, right, at max potency here, combined with Inequity with only 3 debuffs, 611? And look, we steal the regen right back. We're at a full yellow bar after eating a special 1 from Absorbing Man. That's nuts, dude. Now there's also this guy. Now, a couple complications with this fight. Now, he does counter his power gain. He does counter his regen, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind here, though, is that we cannot evade his special attacks when he has True Focus. That being said, we have that physical and energy resistance against him. We have that ability to counter his power up to a certain bit. Keep in mind, Mystics cannot reduce his power gain all the way, right? But it's funny, people were thinking like Shot Thrower is going to be this amazing Serpent counter for this month. But Nefaria is pretty darn solid at countering the Serpent Man. Again, in like Battlegrounds, this is going to be a bit of a longer fight because you can't really evade his special attacks and punish. But he makes the end of this a lot more manageable just because of that constant healing that he gains, right? And all the resistances as well, along with some pretty decent damage at his base. So he's not going to be the best Serpent counter, but he is a Serpent counter. So do with that what you will. To begin, perform a well-timed block to evade and start inflicting your energy buildups. Then, parry to gain ionic charges. While on cooldown, you can still evade the final hit of special attacks, and doing so inflicts your energy vulnerability. From here, launch your special 1 to devour those energy buildups and enter Ionic Overcharge. Continue evading and punishing the opponent's specials, and then launch your special 2 to activate your Fury and unlock those big yellow numbers. If the opponent isn't already knocked out, just keep cycling your special 1 and special 2 to keep Ionic Overcharge active and keeping those Furies topped up. Now, if you're up against an opponent with passive power gain, triggering Ionic Overcharge will reduce the power by 95% and grant Nefaria 60% of the power denied in this way. And yes, this includes Mystic Dispersion, and that all makes it a lot easier to launch those giant special 2s and keep those nasty Mystic Defenders at bay. And hey, that 95% reduction also triggers against regen. And with the Despair Mastery, that regen reversal can get pretty potent. Also, his Awakened ability allows him to regen up to 80% of the healing denied to the opponent, keeping that health bar as big and yellow as his numbers. All right, man, that is Count freaking Nefaria, dude. This guy is so cool. He looks so menacing, man. He has some really sick synergies as well. This one right here with Iron Man, when an energy buildup is inflicted, he inflicts a 15% decelerate debuff, right? So one of those evades is going to be a 30% decelerate. So that's going to go a long way in helping to negate that unfazed mastery, right? Especially in the matchups where like those things shoot up like crazy. Yeah, decelerate's nice to have. Over here, great synergy with Zemo and the Hood for both of them. Light attacks pause Zemo's root for 0.2 seconds is great, and once per fight when the Hood has 0 bullets, he loads 12 bullets. That is not too bad at all, man. And yeah, dude, Count Nefaria, pretty darn sick champion. Once again, dude, whether you like the character or not, head on over to the freaking web store, put in the code Nefarious, and get your 3 Valiant Crystals. You may just get lucky, man. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a big old like, and let me know what you think about Count Nefaria in the comment section below. I'll be seeing you around, man.